I loved her more than I loved myself, and I still lost her. I don't really talk about this with anyone in real life anymore. People either pity me, or they try to cheer me up with words that feel like sandpaper on a raw wound. So I'm writing it here, just to get it out of my chest. Maybe someone will read this and understand what it's like to have everything and lose it in the blink of an eye. Her name was Amelia. We met during the summer after college. You know that strange period when you're technically an adult, but you still feel like a kid wearing oversized shoes? That's where I was, confused, insecure, broke. And then she walked into my life like sunlight cutting through storm clouds. She was sarcastic, brilliant, and reckless in all the ways I wasn't. I met her at a mutual friend's barbecue. She was sitting on the roof, barefoot, drinking cheap wine straight from the bottle and reciting Sylvia Plath like it was stand-up comedy. I was immediately obsessed. We talked for hours that night. It felt like we'd known each other for years, like she saw something in me that I didn't even know existed. She said I was softer than I pretend to be, and probably the kind of guy who cries at sad songs but lies about it. She was right on both counts. That summer turned into autumn. She moved into my tiny apartment after only 2 months, bringing chaos and joy in equal measure. She painted half the walls in mismatched colors, left her books scattered like breadcrumbs across the floor, and always woke me up by kissing my forehead and whispering, "You're my favorite chapter." We were inseparable. We traveled with nothing but backpacks and cameras. Slept under the stars in Oregon. Got lost in Florence. Got caught having sex on a train in Prague. She found it hilarious, I was mortified. She made everything brighter, wilder. I wasn't alive before her, not really. She had this strange habit of writing letters. Real letters, not emails or notes. Sometimes she'd hand them to me. Other times, she'd leave them hidden, in coat pockets, inside cereal boxes, under my pillow. I kept every single one. My favorite said, "I don't believe in forever. But I believe in this. You and me. Right now. And if the world ends tomorrow, I'll die happy because I found you." I proposed on our 3rd anniversary. We were in Iceland, under the northern lights. She cried and said yes, then said, "You idiot, you didn't even get me a ring." She wore a piece of red yarn tied around her finger for weeks after. I eventually got her a real one, but she kept the yarn in her wallet. We were supposed to get married in the fall of 2022. We never made it. It was a Tuesday. I remember the exact date. She had a doctor's appointment. Just a checkup, or so we thought. She'd been getting headaches, some numbness in her fingers, but we chalked it up to stress. We were both working insane hours, saving for the wedding and a down payment on a house. I still remember her walking out of the hospital room, pale and shaking, eyes like glass. I asked what happened, and she just whispered, "They found something. Glioblastoma. Stage 4. Aggressive. Inoperable." They gave her 9 months. She lasted 7. I went numb. She didn't. She kept laughing, writing letters, baking stupid cakes with too much frosting. I begged her to do clinical trials, to go to Germany for some experimental treatment, but she refused. "I want to live, not just survive," she told me. "I don't want to die strapped to machines in a country where I don't know the language." So we made the time we had count. We didn't plan a wedding. We planned days. Mornings watching cartoons. Evenings reading to each other. Nights holding each other so tight it hurt. She started losing her hair. Then her memory. Then her balance. I bathed her. I fed her. I held her hand when she forgot my name, then remembered and cried like a child. The night before she died, she was lucid for a while. She made me promise to scatter her ashes in that field in Iceland where I proposed. She also gave me one last letter. She said I wasn't allowed to read it until she was gone. She died in her sleep. I was holding her hand. The letter said, "If you're reading this, I'm probably off chasing stars somewhere. I know you're broken. I know you think you can't survive this. But you will. You are stronger than you believe. Don't lock yourself in grief and throw away the key. Don't turn our story into a tomb. Love again. Messily. Wildly. Stupidly. You deserve that. And maybe one day, if the universe is kind, I'll meet you in another life where we get a little more time." Asterisk. It's been 2 years. I haven't moved on. I've tried. Dated. Traveled. Laughed. But part of me is still with her in that hospice room, holding her hand as she slipped away. I don't know if I believe in God or heaven or souls. But I believe in her. In what we had. In the way she made me feel, like I was enough, just as I was. I scattered her ashes on a cold, windy day in Iceland, alone. I tied that piece of red yarn to a rock and left it behind. I still talk to her sometimes. In my head. In my dreams. And every now and then, I find a letter. Hidden in some old book or jacket pocket. And for a second, she's here again. I tried to love someone new, but I still saw her in everything. It's been almost 5 years now. Most people think I'm okay. That I've moved on. Whatever that means. I work. I pay bills. I go to dinner with friends. I smile in pictures. But grief isn't loud anymore. It's quiet. Like a constant hum in the background of every moment. Like music you can't quite shut off. I still sleep on the right side of the bed, even though there's no one on the left. Last year, I met someone. Her name is Claire. She's kind. Thoughtful. The type of person who listens without interrupting, who makes banana bread for sick coworkers, who reads the back of every wine bottle like it's poetry. And she likes me. She really, genuinely likes me. We met at a bookstore. Cliché, I know. She was reaching for the same copy of The Little Prince I was about to buy. We both laughed. She let me have it, but then we stood around talking for 20 minutes. That turned into coffee. Then dinner. Then months. She never tried to replace Amelia. Never pushed me to talk when I couldn't. She once said, "I know you have ghosts. I'm not here to exorcise them. I'm just here to sit with them, if you'll let me." How do you not fall in love with someone like that? So I tried. God, I really tried. We dated for almost a year. She left a toothbrush at my place. Then a drawer. Then a whole shelf. She never asked about Amelia's things. Never touched the box of letters I still keep under my bed. But I saw the way her eyes lingered on the photos I forgot to take down. She never said it, but I knew it hurt her. I told myself I could do this. That I could finally let someone in again. So one day, I took her to that little cabin by the lake, the one Amelia and I used to visit every fall. I know how stupid that sounds. But I thought, maybe if I brought Claire into that memory, it would stop feeling haunted. It didn't. She sat on the dock, barefoot, reading. The wind blew her hair in the same way Amelia's used to. And for a second, just a second, I looked up and thought it was her. My heart shattered. Right there, mid-sunset, mid-lake, mid-life. I excused myself, went inside, locked the bathroom door, and cried like a child. Claire knew. Of course she knew. She didn't say anything that night. But 2 days later, she packed up her things. She kissed my forehead and said, "You don't need to apologize. You're still in love with someone who's not here. And I deserve someone who's all here." She left with grace. Just like Amelia would have. And I broke again. Here's the truth. You don't move on from grief. You don't replace someone like Amelia. You build around the hole they left. You learn how to carry them with you, not in chains, but in pieces. Some days, I feel her in the sunlight. Some days, I swear I hear her laugh in the back of my mind. And some days, I imagine a different life, one where she lived, and we had a messy little house with loud kids and burnt pancakes and her god-awful playlists. But that's not the life I have. I still write letters. Not as often. Not as full. But sometimes I'll write one and leave it under her pillow, the one I never moved. Last week, I wrote. I met someone good. You'd like her. I wish I could love her the way I loved you. I'm trying. I promise I'm still trying. I thought I'd heard her last words, until I got one more. 10 years. It's been 10 years since Amelia died. I still count the years like rings on a tree. Quietly. Privately. I don't tell people anymore. The ones who knew her have moved on. Some got married. Had kids. A few moved to different continents. Life, as it tends to do, just happened. But mine stopped. Or at least, it slowed. I didn't date again after Claire. I tried. 1 or 2 attempts that fizzled before they began. I just couldn't give anyone the version of me that wasn't still reaching backward. I filled my time with work. Teaching. Reading. Volunteering at the local animal shelter. I even adopted an old beagle named Frankie, who snores louder than any human I've ever met. He sleeps on her side of the bed now. 2 weeks ago, something strange happened. I got a call from a woman named Lucille. She said she was Amelia's cousin. I vaguely remembered her from a photo, a teenager in braces at some backyard party. We'd never really talked. She said she had something for me. Something Amelia had left behind. At first I thought it was a mistake. But she insisted. Apparently, Amelia had written a letter, years ago, and given it to Lucille with instructions. Don't give it to him right away. Only if he's still alone after 10 years. 10 years. I met Lucille at a cafe. She looked just like Amelia in the eyes, wide, warm, a little mischievous. She slid the envelope across the table like it was something sacred. Maybe it was. The handwriting on it was hers. My name, in that messy, looping script. I didn't read it there. I waited until I was home. I sat on the bed, next to Frankie, and I opened it with hands that shook like it was day one again. The letter read. If you're reading this, it means you couldn't let go. And honestly, I get it. I wouldn't have let go of you either. But love isn't supposed to be a prison. Even the kind that was once beautiful. I want you to live, my love. Not just survive. Not just exist in a museum of us. Keep the memories. Keep the letters. But please. Stop punishing yourself for loving me this much. I died. But you didn't. So don't spend your life inside my shadow. Go outside. Fall in love again. Not like before, not with me. With life. With the mess of it. With sunrises and burnt toast and bad dates and rainy mornings and books you'll never finish. You were always the best chapter of my story. Now go write yours. Asterisk. I wept like I hadn't in years. Ugly, body-shaking sobs. Not just because I missed her, but because, in some small, impossible way, I felt her again. One last time. She knew me too well. It's funny. I always thought the tragedy of losing her was that I never got to say goodbye. But maybe the real tragedy was that I never let myself say hello to life again. So here I am. 10 years later. Older. Softer. Still healing, but maybe for the first time, ready. Ready to live a little louder. Ready to make new mistakes. Ready to feel more than grief. I don't know if I'll ever fall in love again. But I think I might finally let the world love me back. And that feels like enough. I didn't expect to feel anything again, and then I met Anna. It started with coffee. Not a metaphor. Not fate. Just coffee. The week after I read Amelia's final letter, I went back to a cafe I hadn't visited in years, a little place near the library, the kind with mismatched chairs, scratched tables, and one barista who sings 90s R&B like she's trying to make the ghosts dance. It used to be our spot. Amelia and I. I avoided it for nearly a decade. But that day, something pulled me there. Not nostalgia. Not pain. Just, something soft. I brought a book I didn't plan to read and ordered the same thing I used to, black coffee with cinnamon. And that's when I saw her. Anna. She was sitting 2 tables over, hunched over a sketchbook, glasses slipping down her nose, hair tied back with a pencil. She looked ordinary. Not like someone trying to be noticed. Not someone who commanded the room. But there was something about her calm. The way she was entirely present, entirely in her own moment. And for the first time in years, I didn't feel like a ghost watching the living. I felt like I was part of the room too. We didn't speak that day. Not the next time either. But she kept showing up, same time, same seat, always with a different book or sketch or some tiny clay sculpture she was working on. One day, she caught me staring and smiled. That's all it took. Our first conversation was about coffee and deadlines. Our second, about books and silence. Our third turned into 2 hours and 1 too many refills. She asked me if I was a writer. I laughed and said, not anymore. She tilted her head and replied, maybe you just haven't found the next chapter yet. I almost cried right there. I didn't tell her about Amelia. Not at first. Not because I was hiding it, but because for the first time, I wasn't leading with grief. I wasn't trying to prove how much pain I carried. I wasn't dragging the weight of my past into every word. Anna didn't ask for the old version of me. She just listened to the one sitting in front of her. A few weeks in, she came over to my place. Frankie immediately adopted her, of course. He curled up on her feet and refused to move. She wandered around my tiny apartment, taking in the photos, the books, the old vinyl records. She paused at the box on the shelf, the one labeled letters. She didn't touch it. Didn't ask. She just looked at me and said, you don't have to tell me anything you're not ready to. I'm not here to compete with ghosts. I'm here for what's still alive. One night, after too many glasses of wine and a thunderstorm that knocked out the power, I finally told her everything. About Amelia. About the letters. About Iceland. About the 10-year ache and the final note that changed everything. She didn't speak for a long time. Then she reached out, took my hand, and whispered. I'm not here to replace her. I'm just here to be with you, if you want someone beside you now. Not instead of her. Just, now. I don't know if this is love. Not yet. But it's peace. It's laughter. It's soft mornings and quiet company and a slow return to something that almost feels like hope. And for the first time in over a decade, I don't feel like I'm betraying Amelia by smiling. I feel like I'm honoring her, by letting life move forward. She'll always be part of my story. But I'm finally writing new pages. I finally said yes to something new, and it didn't mean I stopped loving her. A year has passed since I met Anna. I still talk to Amelia sometimes, not aloud, not like I used to, but in that quiet place in my chest where she still lives. And the strange thing is, she doesn't haunt me anymore. She's there, yes. But softer now. Like an old song I can hum without crying. Like a photo that makes me smile more than it hurts. Anna and I live together now. It wasn't dramatic. There was no big moment. Just one evening, standing in my tiny kitchen, she was making tea and asked, should I stop bringing a bag and just keep my clothes here? I said yes. She laughed. And that was it. We don't call it starting over. We just call it now. I've told her more about Amelia, not all at once, but in pieces, when it feels right. She's met some of Amelia's friends. She even helped me organize the box of letters. Not to throw away. Never that. But to keep them properly, in sleeves, with labels, like an archive of a life well loved. She did it without jealousy. Without judgment. Just quiet reverence. One day, I asked her if it bothered her, that I still talk about Amelia. She looked at me like I'd asked if the sky was blue. Of course not, she said. Asterisk, you loved her. That's not something you turn off. But you also love me. I don't need to be your only story, just your next one. Asterisk. That sentence lives rent-free in my soul. We traveled to Iceland together this summer. Yes, that Iceland. The field. The rock. The place I left the red yarn. I told Anna everything, every detail, every breath of that day. She held my hand and didn't say a word. Just stood with me in the cold wind, the same way Amelia had. I placed a new stone beside the old one. This time, I wrote 2 names on it. Not because I was trying to compare them. But because they're both parts of me now, the one who taught me how to love, and the one who's teaching me how to live again. I used to think love was a line, one person, one heart, one story. But I've learned it's more like a tree. Roots in the past. Branches reaching in every direction. And if you're lucky, it keeps growing long after you thought it was dead. I still visit Amelia's letters. Not every day. Not to ache. Just to remember. And now, when I write new ones, I sign them differently. I don't write, yours, always. I write, still becoming. Because that's what I am. Still becoming.